Hey, missing listeners, we've got a really interesting conversation today with a wonderful woman that we met at CrimeCon in Denver. Her name is Cathy Tarr, and she founded the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation, which searches for missing hikers. And it's really incredible stuff that her and her team are doing, and they're always looking for volunteers. There is contact information in the show notes, and you'll hear Cathy describe what they're looking for in the conversation. So thanks a lot for listening. Please follow us on social media at MissingCSM. We're going to break quick for commercial here, and we'll be right back with Cathy Tarr. Welcome to the podcast, Cathy Tarr. Cathy, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Tim.
Well, it's great to have you on the show, and it was great to meet you in person at CrimeCon. And before we get into a little bit about your background and an introduction, I'm just curious, how did you enjoy CrimeCon? Did you enjoy CrimeCon? What were your thoughts? This was your first one, right?
Yeah, this was our first time there, and it was way more than I had expected. I was very happy to meet people like yourself, DNA forensic experts, genealogy experts, and so many other people, NamUs for one, people that we work with all the time anyhow. And so it's really nice to meet some people there, and all the people that came by were great.
Yeah, it is a little bit overwhelming if it's the first time you've been there, and the past 3 or 4 years, it just keeps growing exponentially. It's, into the 6,000-7,000 person attendees range now, and you can talk to pretty much anyone who you admire or you're a fan of in this true crime genre. If you try, you go to the creators row and you can talk to any one of the content creators. Everybody's super happy to hang out and just be a part of this community, which you now are a part of this community because you've been there. You are now on this show. But for anyone who does not know who you are, do you mind introducing yourself and your amazing organization?
Yes, so my name is Cathy Tarr, and I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation. So what we do is actually we have a niche as to we search for missing hikers. So we don't search for hunters or skiers, we're only missing hikers. And we have become very well known and very educated, I want to say, within the hiking community. And so when somebody does go missing as a hiker, the family can go in and say, my son's missing, he was a hiker or whatever, and we're going to come up. And that's where they learn about us. They look at our website and reach out and, call us and tell us, how they're doing.
Great. Yeah, the website fofound.org. And where are you based out of?
So we're based out of Southern California. And we do have some cases down here. We have some cases in Arizona, but we also have cases in Idaho, state of Washington, and places like that as well.
Now, the hiking community is one that I imagine is pretty tight-knit. I've done just a little bit of hiking. I would never say that I'm a hiker by any means, but I have hiked. I recognize when I was hiking the difference between what I was doing and what other people on the trail were doing. And once upon a time, my friends and I did the Presidential Range in New Hampshire, and we encountered people who were hiking the Appalachian Trail, which is this incredible trail that runs down the East Coast, right? And there's such a incredible difference between us going out there for 4 days and thinking that what we were doing was even close to what these people were doing. So what was it like introducing your organization to a group that's so tight-knit and, I don't know, trying to educate them on some of the safety precautions and how to communicate better when they go for these hikes? Was it tough to sort of infiltrate into that community or get them to, earn their trust?
So what you're talking about is a through hiker on the Appalachian Trail.
Yes. See, I didn't even remember that that's what they were saying to me.
Yes. So on the Appalachian Trail, as well as the Pacific Crest Trail on the West Coast, and then you have the Continental Trail. So there's 3 long trails that hikers will do, and if they do all 3, they're called Triple Crowners. These are hikers that are well prepared. They are more prepared than you would have been on your 4-day trip. And so really it's the day hikers, the campers, that are ones that are less prepared, especially the day hiker, because what happens with the day hiker is they will say, hey, we're going to go on a trail. We'll be out maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. And then they get lost or hurt, and they can't get out, and it gets dark, and they don't have shelter, and they didn't bring clothing, and they didn't bring enough water or food, and that becomes a problem, especially if you're lost and maybe by yourself. So those are the ones that we really want to get to. Those through hikers, they're all about safety. They're all about being prepared for cold nights. They have their shelter. They have everything they're going to need there. Now, one thing we do for through hikers is our nonprofit does give away, so far we've given away 60 Garmin InReach devices. And these are devices that if, say, you went out with your friends for 4 days and someone got hurt, and I know the whites in New Hampshire, so you're way out there, and so someone gets hurt and you have no Wi-Fi. So this device, you just push a button. You can communicate on your phone and say, maybe someone has a broken leg or someone's having a heart attack. So you're actually communicating as to what the problem is. So when search and rescue comes in, they're not looking for you. They already have your coordinate. And then besides that, they're coming to you with the intent of what you said is the problem. So if someone's having a heart attack compared to a broken ankle, they're going to come in ready for whatever the problem is. So these things are 100% lifesavers. We'll be giving away more next year, but every time we give those away, that's one of our favorite hiker safety programs that we do. And even people would take our advice, because like even right now, they're normally, $400 or $500, but now they're going to be on sale at $249. So I put that out there and started getting responses and emails. Thank you for posting that, because I finally bought one. And so every time someone buys one of those and they have them with them when they're hiking, makes us feel, because we will never have to go search for them, because search and rescue will come in and get them. It's very difficult for search and rescue if they get a phone call from a family member and says, hey, my daughter went hiking on this trail and we haven't heard from her and she should have been back by now. So now they're searching for that girl. But with the Garmin InReach or a Spot device or Zoleo, you just push a button, they have your coordinate, they come to you, they help you, and you are safe. So that's one of our hiker safety programs we do that we are very proud of, trying to help these hikers. But yeah, the education is for the day hikers. We love the Pacific Crest Trail hikers. We are on this side. I'm actually staying in Idlewild, California, which is a small mountain town where hikers, PCT hikers, go through every year. So I get to converse with them, talk with them. There's trail angels that help them out if they need a place to stay, if they need anything, a trail hiker, a ride. A trail hiker will come along and give them a ride. So the system with the through hikers, like you're talking about on the Appalachian Trail, they end up forming what's called a tramily, and they watch out for each other. So if someone contacts me, which happened last year, and says, I'm really worried about my husband. He contacts me all the time. He has a Garmin InReach, but now there's no contact. I don't know what's wrong, and I'm really scared. I'm not sleeping at night. So I asked for a picture and a trail name, because you only know each other's trail names on the through hiking trails. And so she sent me his picture. I put it on. Within an hour, we got feedback. Yep, here he is. He's over here. Another hiker, a really well-known hiker on the Pacific Crest Trail, went missing, and we did the same thing, and it was crickets. And I said, uh-oh, we have a problem. This guy's really missing. None of the other hikers had seen him for over a month, actually, at that point. And he was, his trail name was actually Ambassador. And a lot of the hiking community knew him. He was an older guy, he was 69 years old, would talk to anybody on the trail. Everyone loved him. And unfortunately, coming off of this mountain here, the San Jacinto Mountain, he was found deceased. So, that was a shock to the community, and also to let other hikers know that, no matter how well trained you are, no matter how many hikes you've done or how much you think you are an expert on hiking, things can still go wrong out there.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I'm curious, what inspired you to start this nonprofit?
Yes, so I was actually going to hike the Pacific Crest Trail. So I was actually in the Whites in New Hampshire, and I was hiking all those peaks. And, for those who has hiked in New Hampshire, you know that those trails are not easy. And so I was hiking with a full pack, and I was strong, and I was mentally ready. And 1 week before my permit date to start it, I was in a car accident, and it fractured my sternum. So no way could I put a pack on. And so I'm like, man, I was devastated because these hikers, a lot of them put a lot of time and energy, like over a year, into getting prepared for this. There are others that just show up, and they hike as well. But it's better to be prepared, and I wanted to be. So I was already on all the social media for the Pacific Crest Trail. Because I was going to hike it and everyone's talking about it and getting excited and we're going to do this, and then I couldn't. So I ended up in Arizona, and on a Facebook page, there was a call out for volunteers to search for a missing hiker in the state of Washington called Kris Fowler. And they were going to do a 4-day search. And I'm like, I don't have anything to do. I'm going to go help them. So I went up to help them, and they searched for 4 days. And I'm like, well, I still can search. So I ended up staying for weeks, really. And a lot of the hikers would say, I saw something and here's a coordinate. So I would check it and do things like that. So that's really how I got started in searching for somebody. While I was up there searching for him, I went into a little convenience store, and there was a missing flyer for another Pacific Crest Trail hiker, David O'Sullivan. And he had gone missing down in Southern California. Actually, the last place he was seen was here in Idaho. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And so when it snowed and I couldn't do any more, I came down to Southern California. I have family who lives here anyhow. So I'm like, I'm going to go up to see if I can help find him or help the search efforts. And unfortunately, when I came here, there weren't any. There were no missing flyers. There was no one I could talk to. I'm like, who's searching for this person? And his family, he's from Ireland. His family had come in. They flew in. And they came to Idaho. I met them. I hurried up and got some missing flyers up, and explained to them. Their culture is different than ours. They really thought that the government, for instance, would be searching for him. They didn't quite understand because that's a small country, And if I went missing in Ireland, they'd be searching for me. And so, but here, California has more people than Canada. And so sheriff's offices, and they're busy with crimes. And so when someone goes missing, such as a hiker, it's not going to be high priority in any way. So I started searching for David. And so now there's 2 Pacific Crest Trail hikers I'm searching for. And I started bringing in people to help me. And we met this woman in Mammoth, California, who said, what you're doing is a nonprofit. And if you think about it, and if you decide to start a nonprofit, I will fund you for all your equipment that you need. And I was like, wow, like, let's do this, So from there, we officially was a nonprofit at the end of 2020. A few months later, in Idaho, there's a lot of newspaper articles about all these people that are missing up here. One was an elderly lady who had dementia and went out into this area, and she was missing, but we had a little bit of a problem because she was elderly and dementia. She's not a hiker. But we went out there and we're like, but if she's here, we know we can find her because of the terrain. We know we can do this. And we didn't have a drone team at that time. So we called upon Western States Aerial Search in Utah. So the guys came down, they flew the area, and we have image viewers who look at these images from the drones. We have them from all over the world, actually. And so I woke up the next morning, and a guy from Missouri, Morgan, says, hey, Cathy, I think we found Miss Garcia. I looked at my phone, and I'm like, no, we found Miss Garcia. So less than 24 hours, and only a couple months into our organization, we had found someone. And we were like, how can we do this? But there were hiking trails everywhere out there. And I'm like, no one can say she didn't come out here to hike. That's all we could really say. But we thought if this was our mother, we would want her found. And so that was our first success. And since then, we have been able to find some missing hikers using drone imagery, mostly Paul Miller and Joshua Tree, Canadian, who was a visitor. Brian Harris, who is a two-tour combat vet who had PTSD out in Blythe, California. And so we have been able to find some people, but we don't have to be the ones to find someone. We just keep the word out there. We help the families with a peer support group, which they are incredibly thankful for. They're only talking to people that had someone in their family that went missing as a hiker. They know exactly what they're talking about. That was so important to me to have that peer support group for them. So like Paul Miller, we found him with just a femur bone on an image. And we called the rangers. They went out and found him the next day. And so that means so much to us to be able to get these hikers home to their families. But Robert Basinski, we were searching for him, but it turned out 2 hikers actually did the same thing he did and came across him. That's perfectly fine with us. We're not out there for ego or anything. We just want people to know there is a missing hiker in this area. If you find anything, please reach out. We'll check it out, whatever, or call your local sheriff's department.
Oh, well, speaking of calling your local sheriff's department, I was curious if you ever have any pushback or what type of relationship you have with law enforcement, considering that you're looking for hikers, because I would imagine that their first reaction might be, well, the person went hiking. I mean, they're technically going into an area that is not on the main path, like it's not like they went missing from their house after they went to the supermarket. Do you ever get an attitude like, well, they'll come back, they're hikers?
No, they don't think that way. That's not how they think. When someone says they should have been back 2 days ago and then they find their car in the parking lot, they call search and rescue. And so search and rescue goes out and searches for them. They do a hasty search, they'll call out a name, and they search certain areas, but then at a certain point, whether it has to do with temperature or something like that, overnight temperatures, the sheriff will say, that's it, you're done. And so search and rescue has to take orders from the sheriff, and they have to pull back. Now the family is like, what do we do? And so that's where we come in. We knew that there is a bridge missing there. Families don't know what to do. They're devastated, and they don't know how they can find this person, and that's where we come in. And even if they just do our peer support group, they're just like, we had nowhere else to go. And so that's that's what we do. We're there for the families. We're very, very, very intensely there for the families. They can call me 3:00 in the morning and just cry and say, I can't sleep, and they can do that, and they know that. So I'm very in touch with the families.
And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsors, and now we're back to the program. And so you named the nonprofit after both Kris Fowler and David O'Sullivan.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Kris Fowler? And I understand he's still missing.
He's still missing. It's very difficult to find a thru hiker, to be honest. He could be within 300 trail miles. He left at White Pass, and there was a storm coming in. Everyone knew there was a storm coming in, and he decided to get on the trail anyhow. And he had never been seen since. So most likely hypothermia, something in that way. But, when they come to roads along that trail, they can hitch. So he could have hitched further north or not. And so it's just so overwhelming in situations like that when you have 300 miles of trail. And so there's been a big outcry of locals, search and rescue, sheriff's office worked very intently with the family. And to this day, search and rescue will go out if they have a lead. And so there's been a huge amount of searching for Kris and just no clues at all as to where he's at. We've had helicopters, snowmobilers will go out, hunters. I've always hoped a hunter would come across Kris, but it just hasn't happened since 2016.
What are the classic things that you look for, or you maybe instruct people to look for if they're searching for somebody that has gone missing on a trail that isn't a casual trail? Someone like Kris who was probably doing something more challenging. Is there like a rule of thumb that you go into these with a mindset, or Where do you start?
So we start with talking to people that's hiked with the person before. We want to know, who is this hiker? Is this somebody who always takes risks? Is this someone that always stays on the trail? Who is this person? Once we do that, we talk to family. We look at maps. We do a lot of research before we get our feet on the ground or get a drone out there. Some 101 places would be ravines, along creeks or streams. These are places that you would normally find missing hikers, but somebody with hypothermia, they're just going to roam. Heat exhaustion as well. They may just roam. They don't even know where they're at. And so that makes it even more difficult to find someone. If someone finds themselves on the wrong trail, they think they're on one trail, but they're actually on another trail, and they just keep hiking and hiking. And then they told their family they're going to be on this trail, and search and rescue goes out and searches that trail. They don't find the person. Which trail did they take? So when you have multiple trails, that really makes it difficult to find someone. You have to take each trail and search it as much as you can.
And is there a typical cause of death when you recover a body?
Sometimes there is no cause of death, to be honest, especially, because most of the time when we come along, we're search and recovery. So most of the times the individual is just bones. And so there are times where there just is no specific, of course, if there's a bullet in the head or something in the skull, you would say foul play. But in the hiking community, foul play is really a low probability. Even animal attacks are low probability. The highest probability is got lost or got injured. It happens all the time. Those who have the Garmin InReach, they're found and saved, but those who don't, they're stuck there, and they have to try to get themselves out of the situation. And if they can, then they just perish, unfortunately.
Yeah, and so what if a hiker comes into a scenario where they twist an ankle or break an ankle or fall and break a bone that is preventing them from getting out of that situation, and they don't have one of these devices, one of these Garmin InReaches? What should they do?
So at that point, they got to consider nightfall. What do they have in their pack that can help them stay warm? But also, if the family may not know for days that they're missing. Hopefully they know right away. Well, the first thing search and rescue is going to do is put a helicopter in the air. You want to do something to get their attention, even if it's throwing sand in the air, any type of movement, you've got it. If you have any type of clothing, wave it. Because if you're standing there, it's very difficult to see you. If you got in a position like an angel, that people do in snow, they have a better way of seeing you. But there have been, things where someone takes a hiking pole and they put cloth on the end of it and they wave it. They've got to see movement. They're not going to see you just being there. So if you have that opportunity, that's what you would do, is try to get the helicopter people to see you.
And can you tell us a little bit about David O'Sullivan?
Yes, so David is from County Cork, Ireland. He was hiking a Pacific Crest Trail. He came into Idlewild. He had a hotel room. He was waiting for a piece of equipment to come into the post office, which never arrived. He sent an email home to his family the night before he disappeared and said, he's having a wonderful time, but he's being delayed that day because he has to wait for the post office to open. Most hikers will leave first thing in the morning, grab some breakfast and leave. So he was behind the people in front of him. There was a ton of snow on the mountain that year. He had told somebody at a cafe that he had no intentions of hiking in snow, which he had maps. That's all we had was maps. He had no electronics to help him or to navigate him in any way. So he had the maps. So I had the same maps. So I started looking at these maps, and there were some things marked on the map, such as, hiker has died, a PCT hiker has died in this mountain, when there was snow, and that would have been John Donovan, which is an amazing story. And so he would have seen that and read that. And so it tells him, walk up Black Mountain Road, it's 8 miles up, you'll hit the PCT, and then you'll come down off the mountain at that point. Or you can hitch around. And so a lot of hikers will hitch from Idlewild to the 10 freeway, and then they'll continue north to the next town, which is Big Bear. Unfortunately, this particular town has several different ways to get back onto the PCT, whereas other towns, you come in one way, you go out the other. And so we don't know which trail he took. That makes it difficult. Did he go up Black Mountain Road? I don't think so. There's been 3 missing hikers on the north side of this mountain that all died on the north side. And so search and rescue's been out. We've been out searching for them and never found David. We had 60 volunteers at one for John Sturkey, and no one came across David. So I don't believe he's on the northern facing side of the mountain. And so it's a difficult case. Through hikers are very difficult to locate.
You mentioned John Donovan, and you said that was an amazing story. What is this?
So John Donovan years ago went missing, and 2 hikers went up the tram. So on the Palm Springs side of the mountain, you can go up this tram. They were there for a conference. They got lost, and they spent a couple nights out there in the wilderness trying to keep each other warm and stuff. And they came across his campsite. And they thought, oh, he's here. So they're calling out his name because he had a journal. In the journal, he had dates. And they were there almost exactly a year later. So then they realized, oh, wait, this is a year ago. Well, they went through all his stuff and found matches. And they started a fire. And that's how the helicopters saw the smoke, which they were not even going to be anywhere near that area, they told them. And so they ended up rescuing them, and then they later found John Donovan's remains away from the campsite. But that was quite interesting because my thought was always well, if John Donovan had matches, why didn't he start a fire? So I was confused by that, but he was an older gentleman hiking a PCT. And yeah, it's a big story out there, very how they came across and it saved their lives.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's cool. It's not cool that John Donovan disappeared and perished, but it's very cool that was the reason why these folks were able to be rescued. So
he basically saved their lives. I mean, really, they saw that and they were just because we've got to get ourselves out of here. There is no safe way to come off that side of the mountain unless you're on that tram and you're going to cliff out or something. So they're lucky to be alive, really.
Wow. Now, a little while ago, you said that there was foul play was something that was very unusual if hikers are found dead. Is that because of the, I guess, community aspect to hiking, or why exactly is that?
Well, I mean, if somebody's going to commit a crime, they want to kill someone, they're not really the type of people that's going to hike up mountains to find someone to kill. I mean, it has happened, especially on the Appalachian Trail, because that trail is actually closer to towns than, say, the Pacific Crest Trail. So there's been incidents where, 2 girls went into town, someone followed them back and killed both of the girls in their tent. That happens, especially, I don't know of any stories really on the Pacific Crest Trail where somebody was murdered. But the AT, yes, that has happened because they are closer to towns. But it is rare. It's a hiking community. If someone's going to shoot someone, it's usually in their neighborhood or their city, or they're not really the outdoors type people. Although we did have a man in 2017 who kidnapped a woman on the Pacific Crest Trail. Her name was Kara Moon. He's actually up for, his trial is actually this month in New Jersey for kidnapping another girl. And so he kidnapped this older woman, and she did end up escaping, but he took all her money. So when she went home, she lost really everything. So she had to get a mobile home, and unfortunately it caught on fire and she died. And it was just the saddest story ever. And a lot of this is in, a book that came out. It was actually CrimeCon Book of the Year last year, Trail of the Lost. And it has about this guy. He went by James Perillo, which is his name, but he went by other names as well. And so a lot of these stories are in this book. And that was one of them that was just super sad, because we got to talk to Kara before she died. And we just felt so bad. We're like, are you kidding me? You're not, you get, kidnapped and then you die in a fire. So it was sad.
Yeah, that is really sad. And your whole organization deals in all of these sad stories. What do you do to kind of counter that in your own life? Do you go hiking?
Yeah, I love to hike. Yeah. But I'm usually off trail searching for people, which is slow and steady. But yeah, when I have the opportunity, I'll be hiking tomorrow up the San Jacinto Mountain. But yeah, and when I see people on the trail, hi, how you doing? It's a very pleasant community of people that are usually very nice people. So getting into that community was not difficult at all.
Cool. And I see that that Trail of the Lost is Andrea Langford's book.
Yes.
Have you had some connection with her?
Yeah, the book is actually started out as I inspired her to write the book. So I'm in the book quite a bit. But it actually turned into a lot of different things. Kris Fowler's story and his stepmother. The kidnapping of Kara Moon, and so much more is in there. Because she took years to write it. She just didn't throw it out, and did a lot of fact checking and things. And so a lot came from that book. And it was an instant New York Times bestseller. And as I said, CrimeCon Book of the Year last year. And she actually announced this year's CrimeCon Book of the Year. So that was kind of cool. She used to be a park ranger and the Grand Canyon. And so she had a lot of background. She herself had searched for missing hikers at the Grand Canyon, which they go missing all the time. And it's really, for us, bringing that back full circle, it's about the families. And so when you asked about, what do we do with these families? And like, for instance, one woman really thought her son was alive. And, she's having a really hard time. It's her youngest son, he's 25. He's missing in Joshua Tree. And she thinks, maybe he's in a homeless camp or something. So I told her, I'm like, Amy, hold on to that. Like, you hold on to that unless you hear differently. And so they flew in. We had 22 people. We were going to go out search for Tram. And I went out to prep the trail, and I come back and there's 7 police cars. And I'm like, oh no, someone found Tram. So it was very interesting because they had just flown into Palm Springs, and that day he was found. And so they were amazing. I stayed with the family. I got them hotel rooms. I got them dinner that night. The next day they wanted DNA because there's no skull found, unfortunately. And so I took them down to Indio to get DNA. And some young rangers took us out to where he died. And so I just stay with them and I help them until they flew out. And so that's what we do. We're there for the families.
And you maintain contact with the families. You said that you have the peer support group.
Yes.
And that's probably a full-time job in itself. After they receive the information about their missing person and you follow up, how often do you follow up, and what other types of programs do you, or I guess exercises do you put forth to help?
Okay. So the peer support group, I have a woman from Canada. Actually, I think they're both from Canada. Maureen Trask and Don Robertson. They had missing people. In fact, Paul Miller was Don Robertson's brother. So I have them join the peer support group. I don't participate in it because I can't relate to them. And I would feel like an intruder, really. So I don't participate in those meetings. It's once a month. But yesterday I was on the phone with Amy Evans, who thought her son was alive. And she goes, and she's still like, our family is so appreciative of you. She goes, you're the reason I could sleep at night. Like, you were there for us. And in fact, I had gotten sick before that search effort. And her other son's like, what are we going to do if Cathy gets sick? What are we going to do? Because they're on the East Coast. They're not even here. And so a lot of times the family does put a lot on me. Some families, like, I feel a lot of weight on my shoulders for them, but it's what we do. And so keeping in contact with them is very important to me. So I'll reach out, how are you doing? Whether their missing loved one has been found or hasn't been found. I keep in contact with them.
And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsors, and now we're back to the program.
And a lot of the people that you look for in the California area, do you do other searches outside California or into Canada or even south of the border into Mexico?
So right now we are on the west side of the U.S. So we have cases Idaho, Washington. We would do Oregon, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, California, those areas is where we're really at right now. We would like to expand to the 48, the lower 48 in time, with more funding and equipment and things like that. More volunteers. We definitely need more volunteers, ground searchers, or even remote volunteers, image viewers, or someone that can organize volunteers within a state. Currently, we're looking for a secretary, for our board. So we need more volunteers. Once we get in place with all of our volunteers, we want to expand. So we do the whole 48.
That's really cool. And how often do you embark on organized searches?
Well, that all depends on weather. So for instance, later this month, I'll be in Arizona in Prescott. But we're waiting until November before we go to an Arizona one east of Phoenix because it's still in the 90s. So it started snowing in some areas up north. So we come, from CrimeCon, I went to Idaho, straight to Idaho for a case. And then from Idaho, I went to Washington for a case. And then I finally got back down to Southern California. So I was going almost the whole month last month. And so now we'll look at, David O'Sullivan. We also have Chris Sylvia, who is a section hiker on the PCT. And he went missing on the PCT more south of here. And that's the one I always hope is alive. I feel like he may have joined like a Buddhist type thing, which is what he was doing. And there's one right there, and it's in the book, but it's a long story. But he's the one that I'm like, I think he's alive. And I hope he is. I hope he's happy and alive and doing well.
That's interesting. I was actually going to ask that. Like, how many of these do you look into their family circumstances or their job circumstances and start to think they could have just gone hiking under the guise of like they're going to make themselves disappear to start a new life?
Right, exactly. And with law enforcement, we get that a lot when it's a male, when it's a guy, a young guy, 25, 30 years old. They're like, oh, he probably just went off somewhere. 99% of the time, that's not true. Especially if day hiker and there's this car in the parking lot. Paul Miller, who is a Canadian, went missing in Joshua Tree National Park on a trail that was like 1.5 miles that dead ended. And yet they pulled out every stop to find him, and yet they didn't. So they started thinking foul play, and I'm like, who's going to do like foul play to this middle-aged Canadian? Like, did he piss someone off? I don't know. What happened here? And then at the end of the day, he was under a ledge. So therefore, the helicopters couldn't see him. And I do believe he died from a heart attack, a heart issue, because he could have called out because they started searching for him immediately. So he could have called out. He could have, flagged the helicopter. And when he was found, there was food and water with him. And it just happened that with time, one of his bones, his femur bone, came out from under that ledge, and that's what we caught on the drone image. So thankfully for that, the family has answers. And they can, move on to the mourning state. And because when you don't have answers, man, it's bad. It's bad, it's called ambiguous loss. The person's not there, but you don't know why the person's not there. So it's really hard on these families.
Wow. How long was he gone for?
Oh boy, I don't know. It was close to a year. I think like 9 months, I want to say. Yeah, if I'm correct on that.
So if his femur bone didn't happen to kind of
come out,
yeah. Wow. God.
He could still be there. His family kept coming down from Canada to search for him as well. He was kind of like up on a ledge, and so many volunteers were very close to him. But they were going the least path resistance down this drainage, and he was up a little bit higher. And so we learn, every time someone's found, we learn something from that so that we try to not make those mistakes in future cases.
And the lesson that time was, I guess, traverse somewhere a little bit more difficult. Is that the lesson on that?
Well, what I want to say about that one is it's Joshua Tree, so it's warm. Anytime you have like Grand Canyon, a place where it's really hot, a desert, you want to look for ledges. You want to look for something they could get under for shade. It's all about shade when you're in a hot terrain.
Gotcha. So the theory with this one is that, I'm sorry, it was Paul Miller, right? The theory with
Yes.
Paul was that he had a heart attack and maybe not died immediately, but went under that ledge for shade.
Yeah, so he might have been having symptoms of a heart attack, and he's like, man, I need shade, because he had water and food when he was found. So it wasn't like he ran out of water. So we knew that much. And so I need shade, and this would have been the shade spot. He would have got up under there for shade and then died, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, and what is there to do, though, if you're experiencing symptoms of a heart attack when you're out there alone as a hiker?
There's absolutely nothing you could do unless you have a satellite communicator like the Garmin InReach, and you push a button and say, I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And had he had that, then the family would not have gone through those 9 months of not knowing what happened. Search and rescue would have come in to that coordinate, found him. Could they have saved him? I don't know. But they could have saved the family from all that heartache that they went through, at the very least.
Right. And so you mentioned drones. Do you have, how many drones do you have? And are they really high quality, intense ones, I guess? They must be, right?
We have drone pilots, and some of them are even search and rescue in Arizona, past law enforcement, rangers and stuff. And so we have the DJI Maverick Enterprise 3, which is the first one really that came out with the mechanical camera, which is used a lot for surveying. So when we use the drone, we actually program it before we even take it out. So we take it out, we tell the drone, hook it up, where to go, and they fly in grids. And so they'll do their flight, they'll come back, we'll put in another grid, they'll go out, do that flight, come back, and we do that till we have all the areas we want droned. Then we have an admin who will take those images from the drone pilots, put them into folders, spreadsheets, and then people start looking at them. So as they look at them, they put their name, do they see anything, yes, no, if they do, what do you see, and then we look at it as a team and decide if that's something we should look at. If it is, then we put in the coordinate, and then we have ground people that'll go out and say, yeah, I did find it, but you know what, it was a Mylar balloon. Or it was a jacket, but it's not his jacket. It's a wrong size. We find all kinds of things out there. I found half of a surfboard on a mountain, and I'm like, why is there a surfboard up here? So we find all kinds of things out there, always hoping, of course, to find our missing hiker, though. So,
did you ever follow, or were you a part of the search for the actor Julian Sands?
We were not. That particular case had because he was an actor, he had people searching for him, if that makes sense. The higher profile a missing hiker scenario is, the more people's going to search for that person. And we don't really need to be involved in that. We're really looking for missing hikers that you've never heard of before, that their mom or somebody calls and says, is crying on the phone because her son never came back from a hiking trip. And then we look at maps, we look at jurisdictions, and then we get back to them to say if we can take the case or not. So that's what we do.
And how many people do you work with?
So, we have the board, and then we have the volunteers. We have the peer support group volunteers. We have the image viewer volunteers. We have ground searchers. Dozens, a lot of people. We have a place on the website where people can go and actually say, well, we can volunteer if you have a missing hiker in my area. Or we have a 4x4 Jeep, so if you're in our area, we can help you, things like that.
Wow. Well, Cathy, this has been really incredible speaking with you about your work with the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation. It's really impressive, and seems like you have a lot of expertise and a lot of incredible people working with you.
Yeah, absolutely. We have, past search and rescue people working with us, people that really know what they're doing. And then we have people that's just like, really can't help you with that, but I can be base camp. Or I can search images, or I can help you organize volunteers. So there's always something for someone to volunteer with us.
And you're looking for volunteers from anywhere? They don't have to be based near you?
No, they can be anywhere. We have volunteers from Australia, England, the UK, places like that where they look at drone images. Yeah, so you can be from anywhere, really.
That's cool. So it doesn't have to be specifically volunteering for hiking and boots on the ground searching. You can look over the drone images and do it from, not trying to be cheeky, but the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of remote things that people can do. You know, maybe someone's retired and they're good at organizing things. So maybe they can organize all of our volunteers in the state of Oregon or Nevada or something. So we have a case in Nevada. I can go to that volunteer coordinator and say, hey, we have this case. We want to do a search on these dates. Can you see within your volunteers who can come and help us? So being organized is a trick, really.
Thanks a lot for listening. Check out the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation at fofound.org. There's a link in the show notes. And please follow us on social media at MissingCSM and like and subscribe. Thanks a lot for listening. We really appreciate it.